everyone, it's Karen from the Beyond IVF Baby channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today I wanted to take a big dive in a holistic treatment option, one that you probably have not heard about, yet it is probably very accessible in your hometown. The method I'm talking about is a Mayan fertility massage technique, and it's named after the founder Arvigo. So I worked with one of her top practitioners who I flew to Belize to work with her, and it kind of worked out for me personally because I had friends in Belize. I did used to have a relative in Belize, but that was no longer the case anymore, and I went to visit friends. I think this is a treatment option that you may want to consider if you have endometriosis, if you know you have some sort of pelvic floor issue, could be you've had fibroids, could be that you've had removals of maybe endo, maybe you've already had an endo surgery, maybe you know you have endometriosis, maybe you know you have adenomyosis or one of the other issues that can go along with it. If you've never had any of those tests, I would say a good potential precursor would be if you have a very heavy flow period. You probably have, if not endometriosis, you probably have adenomyosis or fibroids or something along those lines. I had a little combination of all of them, and polyps are also another indicator that there could be some kind of issue with the uterus. You may or may not know the shape of your uterus. There's something called a introverted uterus, or you can still hold a pregnancy no problem. However, it's a little bit less conducive, we'll say, to conception or carrying a pregnancy to term. And with this particular type of massage therapy, which is not a regular massage therapy by any means, it can help make your pelvic floor and the organs within the pelvic floor muscles more aligned and more conducive. I will say from my own firsthand experience, I went to Belize to work with a practitioner first. I also worked with a practitioner in my hometown of Florida, and while the technique was the same, the treatment was not the same, and I don't think you would get the same results with a practitioner in the United States than you would by going to Belize. That's just my personal opinion. So because I've tried both. What you get if you go to I worked with a practitioner. Her name was Eva. If you Google the certified practitioners and you look at the ones in Belize, you will see that she's there. What is so special about her is the fact that, like I said, she's actually one of the instructors. So in order for a practitioner to get certified, you have to work with either her or the main founder of the technique. And what's, again, unique to them is not only the holistic approach, but the different other avenues that they explore that you may or may not find with a practitioner in your hometown. For instance, you probably have heard of vaginal steaming. So that's something that is done with this particular technique when I had the treatment in Belize. Of course, if you do a treatment here in the United States, there's not, all that time. So you probably are not going to get, a huge combination approach. Also part of this treatment option when I was in Belize. There was the spirituality, cleansing and prayer and all that. So, some people may not feel good about that, but this is a practitioner who has training in those particular avenues. And I didn't have any offense to someone, praying that I have a healthy pregnancy and this kind of stuff. So this didn't offend me at all. And I think it was, reassuring, or comforting is probably a better word. So besides the massage, I experienced, of course, the vaginal steaming, the massage. There was also a bath procedure. So again, it's kind of going with the spiritual cleansing of, the body, to have, openness and, I guess, for lack of a better word, good karma and all that kind of stuff to help come together and remove any kind of, I guess we could say, curses if there have been previous miscarriages, or, several failed IVF attempts, several failed IUIs, things like that, just to help rebalance and refocus. They also were trained with something called Bach flower remedies. So it's, instead of an essential oil, which you may be familiar with, like you can get, for instance, a lime or a lemon essential oil, flower remedies are actually coming from specific types of flowers, and they're like herbalists, so they know what particular flower treatments will go together to give you the best outcome. So I know back this is like going like way back, like 5+ years when I had the treatment. I know even back then, Whole Foods did carry the Bach flower essence, but they don't do that anymore, at least not in Miami. Maybe they do at other Whole Foods, but they actually come up with different formulas based on their training and their skills. And I've looked at their website and I see that now they also do something in terms of, I think, their own additional herbal remedies. So kind of think like when you have acupuncture, you can do Chinese herbs or Japanese herbs, depending on if you're seeing a Japanese acupuncturist or a trained or a Chinese trained. Typically they're Chinese, there's a lot more versus the Japanese trained acupuncturist. And you can get, again, a different kind of herbal remedy that is suited for your particular fertility issue that could potentially help you. Now, I'm going to say, for me, the power of belief is huge. So I went, on this trip to have, this massage and this like 2-day kind of like holistic retreat where we did some weird things, but it was like, okay, I would stand on my head and do, backflips or whatever in order to have a baby. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I'll tell you, it was a lot cheaper than any fertility option, i.e., IVF or IUI, or even something like a PRP. It was cheaper than that because Belize is in Central America and it's, it's not the United States. And also, you would not, for the amount of time and work and different treatments that were done, there's no way, the price I paid, there's no way in the United States, like, to get that kind of treatment, it would be thousands of dollars. It would be very competitive with, I would say, at least an IUI treatment kind of thing. But I think it was worth it. Why? Because the frame of mind is different. You're in a new environment. You're in a different culture. And if you have that openness, I think you would be fine. And I had that openness and I had that willing to try something different. And this came at a time that was somewhat devastating to me because I had, had like less than a year. Um, the ovarian stem cell procedure, and that did not go well. It really messed up my FSH, LH, and all that. So I was tracking ovulation, and I wasn't, I was just not, ovulating very much. And I was going in to check my follicles, and they would grow and then they would stop. So it was, a pretty devastating time. So thinking, okay, I'm like at that point, like I was like 41, something like that, 40, 41. It's like, oh my God, it's over for me. And I was taking hormones to help boost my levels, because that's a common option for women over 40 that are still trying to have a baby. You might need hormone support in order to be able to get an egg in that perimenopausal stage. So to my shock, even though my AMH had dramatically plummeted after stem cell, like I'm talking 300%. You can see that in some of my earlier videos. I managed to actually get pregnant shortly after. So I would say the trip was in late December. In January, I was pregnant. However, it was a very short pregnancy, and it didn't last very long. So it ended up in a natural miscarriage. But it was remarkable, the power of belief. And that's what I'm going to say, which is so important. Even though my AMH was almost undetectable, it made me think, wow, we have something here. So kind of fast forward years later, I did, different clinics, different, IVF cycles, natural IVF cycles where we're going for just, one follicle, one egg, because that's the most you can kind of hope for. And it wasn't working. It was just like failure after failure, not getting to the egg retrieval and things like that. And then I decided I was going to do, and then I had done more just regular PRP. So thinking, maybe this is going to give me some kind of boost. Maybe it'll erase the negative, aspects of what the stem cell procedure had done for me. And it really wasn't able to do anything for me, unfortunately. Those other PRP treatments. I will not say that it was a complete failure in terms of those other PRP treatments, because I do believe it helped remove some inflammation and things like that. So that's what I will say it did. And I also spoke to other ladies on Inspire who felt that the PRP was helpful in terms of reducing inflammation in the uterus and all that, which also is going to be more helpful if you're going to get and stay pregnant. And this also finally got me into looking for a compatible fertility coach. And I eventually did work with a fertility coach. And again, speaking of the power of belief, it got me back on the mindset of, what if I can get pregnant after, 9 years of failures? And it did eventually, work for me. And I did eventually stay pregnant and have a healthy baby girl at the age of 46. So with all of that, I want to encourage you to explore different types of alternative treatments that might be a viable option for you. Speak to those practitioners and see if it's something that you feel comfortable doing, and you know, if you're able to travel, or if it's out of the question to travel right now, see if you can find a practitioner in your hometown, and see what they can offer you. Find out what their skill set is besides just the Mayan Fertility Massage technique. What else do they have that they can offer you that might be something that's going to help you? Another thing to mention, a part of the modality I had, my treatment also included the castor oil pack. So keep in mind, all these treatments have to be done at a certain particular time of the cycle. So if it's any time after ovulation, the practitioners are not going to work with you because there's the potential that you could be pregnant, and a lot of these treatments are counterindicated if you are pregnant, so it could harm a pregnancy. So in terms of alternative treatments that are holistic in nature, you're over 35, you suspect or you think you might have some issues in terms of, you know, polyps or endometriosis or adenomyosis or fibroids, this is a potential treatment option that might help you get and stay pregnant. And it's a treatment that's not going to break the bank either way if you travel for it or if you find a practitioner in the United States. So this is, you know, going to probably cost you maximum, like I would say in the United States, $200, because you're not going to bundle all these specific things. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for my deal, but I'm gonna say it was probably under $1,000. Of course, that was 5 years ago, so things always will change, and prices will change, and this and that. And I've noticed the practitioner has, you know, increased her training, increased her skills, and has more, you know, more things to offer. So that's always, you know, that's always a great plus, you know, for someone to have more things to offer you than, you know, just a couple things, you know, because then you can really pick, or you can, you know, do all of it if you have the money and the time to spend. So until next time, I just want to encourage you to investigate other options that are holistic in nature. And keep in mind, I would love to hear any questions from you, and what would you like to hear that I might be able to help you on your fertility journey. Until next time, ciao.